Well, I think it's not a surprise that Mohamed Idriss Deby, has assumed this role as transitional president. I think the writing was on the wall going into the national dialogue, given that many of the most prominent opposition figures and armed opposition figures boycotted the national dialogue because they feared that it would be dominated by the Deby party and clan. It essentially created a situation where the outcome was essentially very clearly understood from the very beginning. And so I think it's unfortunate that the international community didn't push more strongly to ensure that this was not the outcome. But now that it is the outcome, I think there's another opportunity to try to ensure that a civilian cabinet is named and that genuine efforts be taken to reform the political system so that free and fair elections are a possibility at the end of this transition period.
The international community had urged Deby not to run for president in the post-transition, but the National Dialogue Forum gave him a green light to run at the end of the transition. What kind of message his running would send to coup leaders in Africa?
Well, I think what we've seen is a pattern among coup leaders across the continent in the last few years, whereby rather than simply seizing power and declaring themselves presidency, they declare some kind of interim transition period, create an interim constitutional document, perhaps even, as was in the case in Sudan, they appoint some civilian cabinet or administrators to share power with. And I think what really matters is the end of that transition period, because I think many of these leaders, they expect that the international community over the 2 or 3 year transition period will lose focus, will lose attention, or will simply come to accept these military figures as heads of state because they are providing some measure of continuity or stability in their governance. And so they hope that the international community will, at the end of the day, simply go along with these installation of military leaders. And so I think we have to be very vigilant now, as I said, to make sure that this pattern of behavior is not repeated and that we are very vigilant in making sure that as we approach these transition period ending, that we have in fact done the necessary work to put in place true opposition governance, true reform in the party system and political process, and the technical skills to pull off a free and democratic election. So I think it is incumbent upon the international community not to lose focus during these periods of transition.